Don't get into it today. There will be many lessons. I hope you all have your notepad and take these lessons to heart. This will be educational. Yeah, we'll teach you some of the things that your schools didn't teach you. We'll teach you some of the things that your parents didn't teach you, but they should have. The purpose of this is to teach and to spread culture, a functional culture, a civilized culture. That is the purpose of this. And this is going to be a good one, I promise you. I already did my requisite research. I came in ready to go. Now, most of you watching, some of you might be lazy and you might be inconsistent. So don't take this advice because you ain't even figured out how to work hard yet. Because I'm aware that the average person is brain dead. And so I'm speaking to you in a way that's good for you, not good for me. It takes a lot of energy, you could imagine. Now, here's the thing.
What I'm saying is not benefiting me. It's benefiting you.
So pay attention, for there are many, many lessons.
We're going to do some psychological analysis. And as we go through this, I actually encourage you to reflect on yourself as well, because there are certainly things that we can learn from this conversation.
Welcome to the intelligent world. I tricked you to get you here, stupid, but you guys are here to learn.
Shout out to the real ones who are appreciative and live in a place called reality.
And by the way, I want you guys all to be conscious of the fact that there are good people and there are wicked people. Ladies and saints, you look at these people around you, especially if you're successful. They will all betray you. If you've never had experience and went from zero to something, you didn't realize that's a gym. This is what he said. Be aware. Pay attention, folks.
But then you have the greedy and the wicked. Keep those ones from around you. You got the greedy and the wicked, man.
Cast those demons out. Come on, man. We talking about it. I have a greater understanding. And the reason I point that out is because I want you to understand the level of vitriol and hatred. Your enemies are never, ever, 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 ever going to do you a favor. And the worst thing we can do, especially as good men, because, when we're saintly in nature, we're kind-hearted people. But you got to realize it's a cold world. You did. Yeah, it's a cold world out here. I'm never telling you guys what I'm guessing. I'm telling you what I know.
To be able to be here and talk to you and explain things with wisdom, the wisdom of experience, not the guesses of you.
Please do rewind the script and let us take a listen at this theater at play.
Not the information that you get from Google, but those things you can only know from having lived and done things in this world, failed at things. And I can tell the difference between someone like me who's really done business, whether it was successful or unsuccessful, and the masses on the internet who basically just speak about that which they know not.
And when you move faster, you achieve the goal sooner. But here's the key to life that people forget about. This is why you're sitting at home unhappy, because you feel stagnant. You don't feel like life is going anywhere. One, because you failed to set a goal. Number two, because you're not making progress. And I can promise you, anytime you move faster than you expected, you achieve faster than you expected, that'll put a smile on your face.
I don't mind being late because I was pursuing my dreams. That's a beautiful statement to be able to make. And it's true. You dig?
But the fact is, you got to be ready to move and shake in this world. And they say, if you would like to move fast, do it alone. If you'd like to move strong, do it with others. So, it gets like that.
And what you guys have to understand is, just like wealth, it's a triangle. There's fewer wealthy people than there are poor people. Same thing with strength. With strength, it's a triangle. There's fewer strong men than there are weak men. So if you wonder, well, why won't my message resonate? Because most people are cowardly and weak-hearted. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't have a stomach for the truth.
Are you guys ready to open your eyes? Or will you remain in a slumber? That's how we landed here. That's how we landed here. You're sleeping. If you seek the truth, you may find comfort. If you seek comfort, you will never find the truth. If you seek the truth, you may find comfort, but you also may find great discomfort. Sometimes the truth is extremely uncomfortable. As I said, I'm the conscience of the internet.
That's why. If you wonder why people listen to my message and can't handle it, it's because they can't handle the truth. I'm not here for them. I'm here for the real ones. Of which there are few, but there's plenty. Because here's the thing. One strong man could take out 20 weak men. One lion can take down 15 hyenas.
That's the kind of man I am. I'm talking to you the way I would talk to you if you were sitting in front of me. I'm not talking to you with extra confidence because you can't touch me. I'm not talking to you with extra rudeness. I don't have extra bravado. I'm talking to you like I would talk to you if you were sitting in front of me. I have one way of being. I got one way to be. When I first came into the YouTube space, I was one of the few people who used my true name, Marquette Devon Burton, for there is no dirt on that name. That name is pristine the world over.
Send that to me. That's a bar. It doesn't sound like a bar, but it is. It's chock full of truth.
I'm so good that you can't help but watch. I'm the most articulate man on earth. Didn't come in with fake aliases. Came in under my true name, which I've built up over time, living in the same respectable way. Now, one thing I want to shout out to Marquette Devon Burton. Shout out to that man, host extraordinary, because that man was truly, Marquette Devon Burton, the Saints, they call him the Saint for a reason. That man was truly saintly. The Saints, that's what we need to be, a blessing to people, an example to people. And not only does that come in helping people who are good people, but it also comes in chastising those who are not good people, because they are problematic on the planet Earth. Men and women who join the assassin are those who are ambitious but have a basis of morality. They do not drink alcohol. They do not consume intoxicants of any kind, cigarettes. They prioritize their own health, and they focus on the areas of health, wealth, and relationships. Those are the kind of men that would want to join the assassin. Generally men who are heterosexual and believe in the natural unity and pairing of the man and the woman. Carrying on. And shout out to those of you who are truly enlightened and understand. We teach the leadership class here, which is to say those who have enough understanding to first master the self and then be worthy that they could positively influence others. So often I say things and I know my words fall upon deaf ears. I say things like assassin or nothing, and then people don't understand what that means, as though it's somehow complex. Assassin or nothing. They ask, well, it's like asking me like, hey, can I be on the left and the right at the same time? No, you have to pick a side. It's extremely unmanly to think that you're going to be indecisive and stand in the middle. I did a review of a great work by Niccolo Machiavelli, and the work is called The Prince. It's one of the many books that have been basically bootlegged by lesser authors like Robert Greene. And in that book, it explains that when you have no loyalty, there are no rewards for that. If you're loyal, even to the side that loses, there are still benefits to that, as opposed to being neutral or uninvolved. Pick a side, be a man. And if you're not fully with us, we don't want you. You're not good enough, you're weak. In this life, you will be tested with loss of your wealth, loss of your loved ones, loss of your health, many of these things. And some of these challenges are not of your own making. So those are the things that we have to be prepared for and endure them gladly. And that's one of the hardest things, is showing self-love. And I know you guys might be mind-boggled because it sounds wrong, but it is true. One of the hardest things is for us to show self-love. We'll do some things for our kids, our children, that we wouldn't do for ourselves. We'll do things for our parents, our friends, our siblings, our girlfriend, our love interests that we wouldn't do for ourselves. You know how many men have gotten into good physical shape trying to get abroad? Guys are now getting BBLs. It's extraordinary. But to do it for yourself, just because you love yourself, you pride yourself, we won't do it. And that's why I often speak against what is commonly stated. People speak ill of pride. They speak ill of ego, but a man needs an ego and a man needs pride. Take pride in your appearance, pride in your hygiene, pride in your work products. So you did a 180 for the female, you got to do a 180 for yourself. And that's why often you hear guys speaking jealously. They'll say so-and-so needs to be humbled, or so-and-so is cocky. No, you're perplexed because so-and-so loves himself and you don't love yourself. You need to focus on your goals. Being knowledgeable is not a goal. Being knowledgeable is not a goal. Sounding smart is not a goal. I mean, there are some people who have this goal, but it's a stupid goal is my point. So no, there's no need to sound knowledgeable or to sound smart. You need to be achieving goals, be goal focused. That's love. That's what you do for friends and family. You cover over their errors. You help them be greater. You help them improve. You know, you got some terrible friends when they never actually can tell you the truth so that you can become greater. That's when you have some friends who either A, are not bright, B, have a low standards, or C, just don't care. You dig? And when people don't care, they're going to let you do the wrong things. There are winners and there are losers. The best thing a loser can do with their life is distract you from being a winner. That's the best thing they can do. You see, because they know they're never going to win. And so their jealousy says, I can't win. I can't move up, cannot move up. So the best thing they can do is pull you down, right? That's why losers, they love the concept of equality. Losers love equality because what it does is the high achievers, it pulls them down, equality. Winners, we love hierarchy. Why? Because we already know we up here and that's where we want to stay. You dig? Now, a real person who's a true winner at heart, you don't look down on someone because you're up. That doesn't cause you to look down on them. Only a wicked person lives like that and thinks like that. But it's the losers who feel like you're looking down on them. That's inside of their own heart. The problem today that you're going to observe, and it's increasingly the case, is people are dealing with a lot of mental issues. But did you know that mental issues are contagious just like other ailments are? Yeah, it's contagious, little buddy. You don't want to be around certain personalities. You don't want to engage certain personalities. I promise you of that. And remember this, even though it sounds crude, when I say don't trust people who are broke and ugly. Now, what's the moral of the story, Marquette? Well, everyone wants significance. I wish everybody knew how to stay in a place and stay in a lane. That'd be a beautiful thing. That's what I teach. Hierarchy. You heard me? Get in where you fit in and be comfortable. And, you know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just the fact that people who are low income and low IQ breed in great numbers. And I'm seeing the results of it as I live in the society today. And so many people are brainless. I mean, how do you think it makes sense that in America, we are stopping our kids from going to public schools in New York so that we can use those same schools to house folks who are coming into our country illegally, thereby making us less safe? I mean, this is the result of people who are not very intelligent making decisions. They're having killers come from Venezuela. Now those Venezuelan killers are no longer in that country. They're in this country. Among you. You get on the bus in this country. You have people who have taken advantage of children and women sitting next to you on the public bus. Kamala, you talked about single mothers struggling to make ends meet. How unsafe is this world for those single mothers when they have to be in our society surrounded by perpetrators and criminals and monsters who are unknown to us, unknown to the police, undocumented, nameless and faceless. They can curate crimes and get away with it. Because of you. You did that. You put them here. And the problem is when you have a populace that's unintelligent, we're experiencing not democracy, but idiocracy. And in this idiocracy, idiots vote for other idiots. You call a dog, which is a canine, one of the lower animals, you call it your son or daughter. You see others who have dogs, and they call the dog their child. And, you know, and I just... how do you relate to one of the lower animals that has not the gift of language? I just don't understand. So many things. I look at humankind and I don't understand. I have to study them to comprehend and ask them questions to comprehend basic things that human beings do. And then here's the worst part. You're also blocking yourself off from certain things. Like these young ladies who have dogs, I'd never move in with them and I'd never let them move in with me. And more importantly, I'd never have a kid with them because I'm not going to raise my kid around a dog. It's an animal. So there's a variety of reasons. Cleanliness is one of them. That I wouldn't raise my child around the dog. So there's a lot of costs there. You're a poor person doing the things of a wealthy person. And because you are, you're staying poor. Whereas if a wealthy person was to have a dog and they're going to go fly around the world and spend a month out, they can pay for a doggy hotel for a month. They can do that and it's no sweat. It's not a strain. Now, as a poor person, there may be things you want to go do, but you're like, oh, I don't want to put my dog in a doggy daycare. Now you're missing even more opportunities. You're missing out on the person you would have met, the conference you could have went to, the vacation. You probably would have been able to afford more if A, you didn't have to pay doggy daycare, and B, all the expenses you spent on maintaining the dog, feeding the dog, housing the dog, you could have added to your vacation. You're living like a wealthy person, but you're not a wealthy person. And it goes on indefinitely. Anything that you do that is not a necessity means that you're a poor person living like a wealthy person. Smoking cigarettes, you're a poor person living like a wealthy person. Dog, you're a poor person living like a wealthy person. Tattoos, you're a poor person living like a wealthy person. Tattoos, they cost money. And not only do they cost money, they cost opportunity. Like, for example, I got a lot of friends who have tattoos, but they're entrepreneurs. If you're not an entrepreneur and you're covered in tattoos, you probably are costing yourself and you're limiting your prospects. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, fantastic, bro. Like, go yay. But you guys are not realizing that you're locking yourself into a certain level of existence and you're causing yourself to struggle unduly. Let me tell you guys what will save you a lot of money. A good woman save you so much money. And let me just describe some of the things that a good woman does. For many years, I've not done anything regular. Marquette, what do you mean regular? Like go to the grocery store, go to the cleaners, the people who press up my suits, the people who clean my fine dress shirts. Yeah, I haven't been to the cleaners. I don't know what that's about. Why? Because a good woman is like, oh yeah, like I'm going to the cleaners. I'll take this, I'll take that, and I'll go pick it up in a couple of days. I'm gonna go grocery shopping. And a great woman will go grocery shopping multiple times a week because everything's fresh. You get fresh ingredients. You heard me? We don't even really need to use the refrigerator. We get fresh, everything fresh. She's gonna drive and go to the grocery store because that's actually her job. That's her purpose and her joy. And a good woman, man, she's enjoying her domestic duties and she's like, I want to try this recipe. Now, here's the thing. I'm really easy to please. I can actually eat the same thing 10 days in a row, literally 10 days in a row, 3 times a day. That's who I actually am. I'm an extremely simple, disciplined, robotic kind of individual. I can eat the same thing 3 times a day for 10 days. That's my real life. That's who I actually am. You hear me? But Shorty's over here like, oh, I want to try. I want to cook some chicken tagine. I want to make that Indian dish you had when you were in Mumbai. And, like, oh, yeah, I remember when you were in Greece, you really liked this. I'm going to make it. Go ahead. Shit, go ahead. You want to spend 3 hours making a meal? Go ahead. That's what you want to do. Fantastic. But you don't have to do regular things like that when you have a good woman around. She's going to do the grocery shopping. She's going to handle the laundry. I actually enjoy doing my own laundry, but she's going to handle the laundry. One thing I will not let someone else do is I got to iron my own dress shirts. Nobody knows how to iron them right. I got to iron it myself, goddammit. So shout out to all the good women. You dig? The ones who know how to love and serve a boss. Let you all say amen. Let the church say amen if you understand what I'm talking about. Hallelujah. Hear me? Pass around the collection plate. It's real ism out here, man. It's real ism going down. I'm going to go ahead and take a pause for the cause because that was too cold. Shout out to Paul, writes Peace of the Saints. Shout out to Paul. He's very supportive. I'll even see him on, going through the comments and he'll, pop in a super thanks. And so I appreciate and respect it. Shout out to the real men. Stand up, pay what they owe. Pass the collection plate. Go on, Deacon, pass the collection plate. Make sure you get it to them people in the back that don't never give up nothing. Go and give it to Sister Ethel, too, because Sister Ethel, tight as hell. Saw you roll up in a new caddy, Sister Ethel. Go ahead and give something to the Lord. Hallelujah. Shout out to those really supporting. And also shout out to the freeloaders who haven't clicked the like button or anything. They're like, look, Marquette, I have no respect for anything on earth. I'm not clicking the like button. I'm not sending $1. I'm just here. F everybody. A shout out to them too. We need you. Silly little fella. This guy is funny. So the point is, when you don't have a good woman, you end up in the grocery store. You hear me? Now, there's ways to maximize this stuff, but you end up in the grocery store, you end up at the cleaners, you're doing all of these things, which means that it's taken away from your time that you can use to grow profits. You see, like, I would much rather have her at the grocery store while I'm here thinking of another master plan. You feel me? I'd much rather have her at the cleaners while I'm here on a meeting with my tech team, for sure. But another thing is that in the West, we have such broken families and we're so prideful that we're not willing to do what Mexican immigrants do or Vietnamese immigrants do when they come to America, and they'll live multiple people to a small apartment until they can get something better. That's hustle. That's discipline. That's sacrifice. That's what you got to do. But in the West, we're so proud. Oh, I don't want to live with my parents. I don't want to live with my brother. I don't get along with so-and-so. Like, Okay, but stop trying to live like a rich person before you're a rich person. You hear me? Live according to your means. Your means are you need to have a roommate. Your income means that you need to share a car, and that's okay. And you know what? The truth is, people who have actual values, they don't care about those things. You know, when I talk to you, I'm assessing you based on what you communicate to me. You can hop out of a beat up Toyota. I'm going to take it into account, but the way you present yourself is going to be the most critical factor. Like I look at the small things, like for example, like when people come to Assassin HQ, we have white walls. As you can see, we have white walls. There's some people that set things like right on the wall, and it's going to mark up the wall. Of course, I don't say anything. It's a small thing you expect when you have people in the space. The space is going to get like marked up and dirty and things like that. But what I'm watching is to see among you who are the most careful ones, who are the most detail-oriented ones, who are the ones who are awake. That's what I'm watching for, because I'm asking myself who's going to get confirmed next, who needs to go into a leadership position, who's the most competent, who's the most trustworthy. Like if I watch people, I'm like, okay, that guy's not careful. So if I copy the key to Assassin headquarters so that you guys can run programming and run events out of the HQ when I'm gone, I'm not going to give the key to this guy who's not careful. He's the same guy that's going to walk out and forget to lock the door. This guy's going to forget to lock the door. That's no disrespect to him. It's just that's the kind of character he is. And there's nothing wrong with that. So you really have to understand that it's the details. And I remind you, businessmen, details, numbers, percentages. Come on now. And you know, the key is having good women around, but also being within a good culture. And I asked myself, how can we get the guys co-located as well as possible? I've considered buying some land and then like putting some low cost tiny homes or manufactured homes until we can like build something bigger and grander. I also asked myself, what if there's a new construction apartment and then we all just move into the same apartment building? Because as they say, steel sharpens steel, but when you're around people with good habits, you're going to exercise good habits, and you'll be ashamed to demonstrate low habits in front of great men. Furthermore, when you're around people you like and respect, it's easier to go to the grocery store. Hey, bro, let's hit the grocery store. 4 or 5 of you guys head to the grocery store. It's a fun experience. It's a social experience. Or, every Sunday, hey, guys, let's do a little dinner every Sunday. Cool. Have the ladies get together, whip up something, and we all sit down and dine. Of course, we're going to contribute, pay our fair share. Never forget to do that. Pay your fair share into it. But when you're co-located, it's easier to live within your culture. When you're isolated as an atom, it's easy to get subsumed by the greater culture or lack thereof.
How many times have you heard me say, we are in revolutionary times? For years, you've heard me iterate and reiterate. We are in revolutionary times. There is much that is confusing. You have many who would speak of the deep state while being a part of the deep state. You have many who would point out the matrix while actually being a part of the matrix. We are in truly confusing times. Some of you try to pick up the good book to understand what's going on, and you only find yourself even more confused.
Now the Christian side. It's like, but what is Christianity really added up to today? I want to challenge all of your religions. What are they adding up to? Christians going to churches throughout the United States of America. Tell me if you see any rainbow flags in there. You will. Tell me if they're willing to preach about Sodom and Gomorrah the way it is written. They're not. Your religion is corrupted. It has no value anymore.
See, if it was me, if I was really a super Christian, I'd just be walking around snatching cross chains off like I'm a black in the ghetto. You feel me? I wouldn't even run after I did it. I would just snatch it off, throw it on the ground, and spit on it. It's like, Shorty, you're an abomination to an abomination. Yes, the cross, this idolatry, this, what do you call it? Yeah, it's an idol, right? These symbols that don't necessarily connect with God, these symbols that were created like, we're not going to get into theology, but the point is you're making a mockery of the religion. What I do is I challenge Christians. I heard somebody say Marquette is anti-religion. I'm pro-religion.
I'm here as all of humankind rolled into one. All of the religions, all of the varieties of man,
I don't speak to you as a black American. I just speak to you as a reasonable man. I love religion. I think religion is a very healthy thing in a society. I am pro-Christianity. I'm pro-Jehovah's Witness. I'm pro-Mormon. I'm pro-Mennonite. I'm pro-Joanger. I'm pro-76ers. I'm pro-Amish. I'm pro-Muslim. I'm pro-Jewish, Orthodox, Hasidic. You see, I know more about religion than most people. I've lived among religious peoples. I've studied among real scholars. If you check my Instagram, and somebody dropped my IG, I actually removed some of the photos, but you'll see me there with very well-known scholars. And I love religion, but I hate and despise fake religion when people take on religion as though it's a costume. So shout out to my Christians, which means like people who don't really follow nothing and they don't have any damn standard because they let anybody, take their, their, what do they call these idols? What are all these symbols that they have and just make them represent garbage. Rappers wear it, slurs wear it. Like your church has been destroyed, man. You got a rainbow flag on the church, man. The ism saves lives, but Christianity, I don't know what's going on. Y'all keep saying Jesus is king. We'll tell the king to start chopping heads off. You heard me? Because y'all being misrepresented. Jesus should be better than king, frankly, because we have kings on earth. Carrying on. Religion is not a costume. You do not put on a hijab and become a Muslim woman. You do not put on a thobe and become a Muslim man. You do not put on a yarmulke and become a Jewish man. It is not a costume. You do not put on a cross and become protected and covered in the blood of Christ. It is not a costume. And honestly, real Christians, which there aren't any really, they should be ripping these things off these people's necks violently. Carrying on.
And this is a challenge. If you're like Marquette, now Christianity is the greatest. Good. Make it the greatest. Make God's word law. What could be greater than God's word?
God has willed it. God, Jesus. Hallelujah. So whether they're actually Christian or not, they say they are, but are they really? Of course not. You'll learn. Get the Book of Dark Truths. For example, you hear of Napoleon Bonaparte. You guys have heard of him, French emperor. And he said something to the following effect. He said, if I were to rule a country of Jews, I would rule it with the Torah in my hand. For the members, if you guys are a member, check out my breakdown of the book, The Prince by Machiavelli. This is where Robert Greene steals all of his ideas from. And in that breakdown, I explain that, I share that Machiavelli, who was an Italian diplomat and advisor, he notes that a wise leader uses the cloak of religion. The cloak, he puts on religion and takes it off when it's convenient, like it's a garment, like it's a piece of clothing. And he uses it to cover over his true nature and his real moves and to confuse the populace. Because here's the funny thing, though the politicians don't believe in God, they don't believe in the Bible and Christianity and the good books and the Torah in Islam, they don't believe in any of it.
And this is all what happens when you have immoral men running the society, and then you have good boys, behaving well and allowing this stuff to keep going.
But you, the average people, you believe in these stories. You were raised on these stories. You love a good story. Yes, you're captivated by a good fiction. Yes? Imagine Islam, a religion of modesty. Look at the United Arab Emirates. What is it most famous for? Dubai. What is Dubai about? Modesty? No.
I do believe that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was well known for his honesty, yet the Muslims will lie to constantly. And I believe there are many names for, I'm not getting into it. Let me just respectfully say your religion is garbage if it's not doing anything for the people. And if you believe that your religion is not garbage, prove me wrong. Please, I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to go and not spread dawah among non-believers. Don't evangelize among non-believers. Evangelize among those who say that they believe, but do not live as though they believe. Spread dawah among those Muslims who say that they took shahada and say that they were born Muslim, but they do not live as a Muslim. Spread dawah there instead of trying to spread your name and tend to your own ego. Religious people are mostly disgusting, especially the ones that are always trying to tell you about Jesus. Now, I ain't trying to hear about Jesus. I could look at you and see if Jesus is real or not. And from the looks of your life and your behavior, Jesus ain't real. I don't want to hear you talk about the religious people while holding a cancer stick, burning like the flames of hell. You're holding a cancer stick that's burning like the flames of hell with smoke going up while you talk, telling me about God. Stop it. It's disgusting.
Places filled with prostitutes, money laundering hub of the world. It's where the famous and the wealthy and the wicked and the drug dealers store their money in real estate. Used to be Panama, now it's Dubai. I say that as a point of fact.
You can't have this much residential real estate. Show them the height of this building here. You can't have this much residential real estate and there's just no people around. It's quite fascinating. A lot of these people are absentee owners. You know, they purchase a couple condos, they bring their family and friends in for a couple months out of the year, and then they leave the place empty. So it's a curious place. And when you think about what it took to make a place like Dubai, it's a desert, so there's not a lot of drinkable water. So they have a desalination plant, which is it takes ocean water, pulls the salt out of the ocean water, purifies the water, and then runs it through people's homes so that they can have fresh, clean drinking water and water to shower. Further, some of the buildings are so tall that they actually have water running through them. I'm not even going to get into it. It's crazy.
I've been there in excess of 18 times. I know for a fact.
We went on 5 separate international trips during the pandemic in 1 year. Most people don't go on 5 international trips in a lifetime. It's sad but true. And I share it with you not to be boastful, but so that you know it can be done. So that you know you just gotta want it. Oh, it can be done.
You can go buy multi-million-dollar properties in Dubai. They don't even ask you where you got the money. Not that they should. They shouldn't be in your business, but they don't ask. And that's a part of policy. They got a lot of dirty money there. You know what? You go to the United Kingdom, you can't even go to a casino and spend and bring out more than $3,000 US. You got to fill out all these forms. That's because there's no freedom in the United Kingdom. You go to Las Vegas, which is where I live. And once you go over, I think, $10,000, then you got to fill out forms because there's something called the Secrecy in Banking Act. They try to make sure, you know, they claim they're trying to make sure you're not doing anything illegal with money, but it's really just the government monitoring its wealthiest citizens, because those are the ones that are dangerous, right? They can pay for revolution. They can finance the revolution, because after all, what is a military other than paid killers, mercenaries, right? Because what is war other than mass murder? War is mass murder. So if you're an individual and you commit murder, you're about to go to jail in America for sure. But if you're a politician and you order mass murder, which is war, then it's all good, buddy. And in fact, it doesn't even matter really who you kill. Do you think that American presidents haven't killed an infinite number of children in our affairs in Libya, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and the list goes on indefinitely? Yeah, absolutely they have. Absolutely. Almost every American president is a legitimate war criminal. And you'll notice consistently, we never fight anyone our own size. We always fight a country that's like maybe half the size of Texas, maybe twice the size of Vermont. But it's not like a country that could fight back, right? That wouldn't be fun, would it? And very few people have the moral force to get people to bear arms and risk their lives for free. Very few people have that moral authority. Moral authority usually comes from religious persons. If you ever become an effective religious leader, they will immediately call you a cult. Why? So they can pull away people from following you, because that is too powerful. The government cannot contend with it, because for the government to get people to go fight on their behalf, they have to conscript them. They have to put them in a draft, which means force them. Yes, you will begin to understand this world. You pay attention. Oh, ladies and saints, do not forget we are in revolutionary times.
They just canceled a program to give low-cost internet to poor families in America. Then they turn around and send billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel. What? Are you kidding me? They search you like an animal in TSA as though you are a threat, but they let people through the southern border without a fingerprint, a health history, a booster shot, or anything. But they treat you like you're a threat and you're a homegrown American citizen and your family been here for generations. Are you kidding me? We are in the times that they were in Germany, except it's worse because at least the German government cared about the German people. The American government cares nothing about you. And I don't want to hear anyone claim that they're America first. None of these politicians are America first, including Trump. The moment you bend the knee to that other country that has a blue and white flag, you have betrayed the red, white, and blue flag. There is no such thing as America. It should be America only. I'm the only person that's America only. It's not America first, and then others come after. No, it's America only. We need total domination. Our government is in trillions of dollars of debt. The future of our children is in question. People don't respect us around the world. Are you kidding me? Our currency is so freaking weak, it's not even funny. I go to certain countries and I feel like I'm a middle-class person. How is it? I feel middle class. I feel like a middle-class fat white woman on a trip when I go to other countries. That should never happen.
You see, not realizing that the persons who are power holders, they create certain structures to control not the whole triangle, right? There's hierarchy to human life. They're the people at the top, and then they're the losers at the bottom, whether it's the people down here who are maybe the wicked or the poor or whatever the case is, right? So there's a triangle, meaning hierarchy. The people at the top, they create the laws to protect themselves, not to protect the people at the bottom. And sometimes they say things that are not true, but they say them to influence the people at the bottom and make them docile and cooperative. For example, just imagine in America, they say we're all equal. Is that true? Are we all equal? That's a lie. You ever been on an airplane, and when you get on the airplane, there's something called first class. There's something called business class. And then there's something called coach class. Well, you and I, we can count. We understand things that are ordinal, right? First, second, third. But just to trick you, they have first class, and then they don't say second class. No, they say coach class, right? They don't want you to realize that you're second to others. So they don't say first class, second class, as in second class citizen. They say first class, coach class to confuse you. So the people who are actually second class, they don't know it. But the people who are first class, they know it. There is no equality. This is what the power structure does to fool you. Yeah, the book of dark truths is something you need. A lot of you guys are using books that don't teach you a damn thing, books that leave you in deeper levels of confusion. Do you not think that politics is theater? Do you not think that politicians want to be aligned with God? You don't find it strange that every single president of the United States has been a Christian? Out of their mouth, at least, they're all Christians. Even Barack Obama, a Christian. Why? How Christian is it for Barack Obama to have Skittle guzzlers at the White House? He did this more times than any president in history. And then Joe Biden followed in his footsteps. No, you're not Christian. You are engaging in an abomination. But the evangelicals and the Bible Belt need to hear that you're a Christian, even though the word Christianity or Christian and the Bible itself has no real meaning to people today in the United States of America. Now, shout out to this country that I'm in right now, because on Sundays, they respect the Sabbath. Things are shut down. You can scarcely get a bite to eat. You can scarcely go to a proper store. Only the small ones are open. Everything else is closed. Why? Because it's a Christian nation. That's why. That's why it's a Christian nation. America, definitely not a Christian nation. It is a nation of heathens. Anyways, they want to appeal to the evangelicals in the Bible Belt, the Southerners, because America is a strong white Christian country. They want to appeal. So whether they're actually Christian or not, they say they are, but are they really? Of course not. You crack open your Bible, you crack open your Quran, and still you read it cover to cover and don't even understand the world any better. It's the truth, especially in terms of the Bible, because it's written in metaphor and allegory. And some versions are missing books. You find so many demons, they go into things just to ruin it rather than creating something of their own, some sick ideology that they can subscribe to. They go into something that is sensible and they destroy it from within, because mainstream Christianity has fallen off so bad that we virtually have synagogues of Satan. Yes. Rainbow flag on the church, female preacher in the church, gay pastor in the church. We're going to get to Islam as well. But when you look at the Christian woman today, you could never tell that she's Christian. In fact, you can even look at a number of women who engage in adult films. They're wearing a chain, and on that chain, what does it have on that chain? It has a cross, which is a Christian symbol, apparently. I think that occurred in the later stages of the development of Christianity. Apparently wasn't there at the beginning. My understanding is that there was a multitude of criminals who also laid upon a cross, not just Jesus the Christ, but we know many stories have been rewritten, and human beings are not very trustworthy. They're quite deceitful and unreliable. I will be releasing the Book of Dark Truths to the public. There may be a couple pieces I'll take out. And the reason you will be able to purchase that is because it might be my last testament. You heard me, before they take me out. And I want people to be able to look at this world and see what is actually there, because you have been lied to and you are being lied to on a regular basis. Now, you must be conscious of these persons. Sometimes they come into your Christian church pretending that they love Jesus when they really don't. Sometimes they come into your masjid engaging in bid'ah. Sometimes they go into your temple claiming that they're Mormon or Jewish, and really they are nothing of the kind. They're really there as demons in disguise, a wolf in sheep's clothing, to create havoc and confusion. You see, the government will call any form of power other than their own a cult, unless it's an old religion created by Western Europeans, or at least controlled by Western Europeans, where they control the narrative and the imagery. If it's not such, then they will call it a cult because it is a rival to their own governmental power. Governments don't like militias. Governments don't like organized entities. They'll call it organized crime. They'll call it a cult. And those who are sheeple, the sheep will do the same thing. They'll follow the government line, not even knowing it, which shows you how impressive government propaganda is, or how low IQ is among the populace. A little bit of both, perhaps. But anyways, you notice this fellow is constantly speaking in terms of liberals or left and right. He's a part of a mafia, the LGBTQ plus mafia. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, what does the plus mean? Oh, well, the plus, that is, those are the ones who are adult males who engage in pederasty. Yes, that means that they're grown males who like little boys. Yes, that's what the plus is. They just haven't told you. What sense does it make? LGBTQ? That's a lot of letters already, isn't it? You got Bruce Jenner in there. You got Ellen DeGeneres in there. What else is in there? LGBTQ plus. What's the plus? Yeah, it's the grown males who like little boys. That's what it is. And they're going to wait and tell you what that plus is. But I've told you today. And today is when you should start fighting against it. Yes, imagine we've reached a time where adults will yield and let their children be brainwashed in the school system. We've reached a time where your government thinks that they are more apparent than you are. Imagine. Your kids go to school and they can tell a counselor that they don't feel like they are their gender because they've been programmed all day by their teacher who is, and then they can undergo damaging, irreparable, irreversible surgeries that mutilate them. And they can do all of this without the permission and consent and awareness of their own parents. Now, here's the funny thing with the left is I thought consent was so critical. I thought consent was so critical that we would go back decades and decades and decades into situations that are fictional and fairy tale and accuse upstanding men of crimes that they may have never committed that have no evidence because consent was absent. That's how important consent is claimed to be by the left, but we find that consent is something that they pick up and throw away. It has no real meaning. In fact, very few things have very much meaning and truth today. The government has laws and then they violate their own laws. American government told you were free. Then they created a pestilence and spread it around the world, claiming that, we don't know where this came from. It didn't come from a lab that we funded in partnership with the Chinese, who are supposed to be our enemy. Yeah, you're free. You're free, Americans. That's what we tell the veterans to fight for, our freedom. Then the American government took it away all at once, and the other governments of the world followed suit.
behaving real totalitarian the way we accuse China and Iran of behaving. Yet our government and any government would behave in the same way, which is why I tell you that revolution is a natural cycle. Just like they say capitalism has cycles, boom and bust. Does your freedom and liberty have no cycle in politics in a regime? Do regimes not establish more and more power and entrench certain personality types and persons and families to where they all need to be removed, root and stem, such that you can have some measure of freedom? Nancy Pelosi, how long has she been in government? Hillary Clinton, how long has she been in government? The Clintons, how long have they been in there? The Bush family, how long have they been there? The Rothsteins, how long have they been in the background? In your democracy, your republic, I spit on it. These false conceptions of freedom, I spit on it. All lies. That's why we don't have a democracy. We, in fact, have a republic, but our republic has descended into a plutocracy. So it is a government run by the wealthy and wicked.
You know, I find it funny that when the good Americans tried to put forward prohibition, which is to say removing the ill of alcohol from the society, the masses raged against it. And civilized people partnered with gangsters like the Kennedys and Al Capone. You see, the good people have always been in a minority, which is why we must stick together, because we're contending with those that are truly wicked. And I'm sure there's some older people right now who literally lived through this and they know what I'm speaking is true.
Yes, America started as a religious country by religious zealots. What is Saudi Arabia? It is a country that was dominated by religious zealots, increasingly now dominated by money-hungry animals. Yes. What is Russia? It's a traditional country that values family and marriage and heterosexuality. That's what America used to be. We're fighting against it. It's ironic. Lets you know evil has triumphed. Anyone who thinks that they're a pacifist is a fool. You cannot be a pacifist in the face of evil. Just imagine you're a pacifist and it's World War II and the German ball is showing up executing a strategy called Blitzkrieg, pursuing Lebensraum. You're about to get eradicated trying to practice pacifism. You're a fool. And the government feeds you this diet of idiocy. They want to remind you of Gandhi. Oh, he was a pacifist. Well, that's because he had 1 billion Indians behind him, which was the overwhelming majority against the minority of British. So it was the looming threat of violence. And also what people forget to mention is that in India, before Gandhi was really dominant, there was constant violence, whether it was toward the white minority ruling or it was religious violence between the Hindu and the Muslims. And because there was regular violence, people knew if you got this one leader who can organize it and hold these people in his hand and send them to a task, that is a great amount of violence he holds there. So he doesn't have to exercise it. He just has to say, hey, look at what I got.
You never see a people who actually become in fact free without either violence or the threat of violence. People lied when they say Gandhi was nonviolent. Gandhi was nonviolent. Was he really? When you got 1 billion Indians following you, 1 billion with a B, and the white colonizer is the minority and all these people are following you and you say, hey, we're going to do a march with 800,000 people. It's a peaceful march. Do you think the people you're marching against aren't looking at 800 niggas like, shit, that could become a violent march real quick? So what he did was he showed them like, look, I ain't gotta do nothing violent. I got 800,000 niggas behind me. You know what that means. You's a damn fool lying, say that nigga was nonviolent.
And I promise you, the European cowards, they're going to start Neville Chamberlain. They're going to come like just like Neville Chamberlain. It's peace in our time. I don't think he wants to do anything bad. You know, they're going to start compromising. That's the key, because power only respects more power, especially when you're dealing with bullies.
Yes. In fact, the American government, particularly the Obama administration and the Obama-Biden administration, have been found out to have bribed and forced and influenced various organizations on both sides of the aisle, including Fox News and media giants such as Facebook, to put out a certain messaging around the vid, if you will. The vid, the one that comes before 20. The reason that propaganda works so well is because the American government keeps you poorly educated, especially if you are a low-income American or increasingly a middle-class American. The American university system is the best in the world. I'm not saying we have the best individual universities. That's not true anymore. It hasn't been true for some number of years. In fact, the best engineering university is not MIT, it's some institute in India. So, but when you look at the best university system, America's universities are world renowned. And you look at cost as well, they're the most expensive, they're very well funded. And so our university system is excellent. However, our public high school system as a system, our elementary education, primary education, secondary, as a system, they're terrible. And so what you should be asking yourself is, why is it that they want us not very sharp? Why is that? Well, I think it's by design. Undoubtedly, democracy presupposes that you have an educated populace. The reason I bring up this conversation is because this is politics. Politics is who's running things. Politics is what culture will dominate. Politics is, how is the way the society is operating affecting my family, affecting my finances. One of the reasons I teach entrepreneurship so strongly is because I want you guys to be able to spend the dollar within your community. If you need a t-shirt, MDB label t-shirt. You heard me, don't wear a Hanes t-shirt. You ever met an MFer named Haynes? Do you know somebody named Haynes? No, you don't. Do you know someone named Marquette Devon Burton? Yes, you do. And here's the funny thing. You might buy some MDB label and it's not even, the profits don't even go to me. They might go to someone just like you. That's how you keep the money in the community. When I say the community, I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about the saints. I'm talking about the saints. They might be Asian. They might be white. They might be Indian. They might be Filipino. They might be Pacific Islander. They might be Georgian. I'm talking about European, not Atlanta. But the fact is, those are all the things that you need to think twice about. This is not a direct democracy. We do not engage in plebiscite very often. This is a republic, which is to say that the people, the average persons, the imbeciles, the working stiff, they elect someone to represent them, which is to say someone that is at some level their superior, right? Theoretically. And that person engages in voting. So that person experiences democracy, but the low level people, the average citizens, everyday folks, they experience a republic. They get to pick somebody to represent them. They don't get to vote on issues. Have you ever voted on, will we let people into our southern border? Have you ever voted on, do we actually need to be searched like animals at TSA? Have you ever voted on, should we be sending all of our money to Ukraine and to Israel? No, you never vote on the things that are actually critical, right? So there you go. The Democratic Party basically had a person who is senile running our government knowingly, just because they weren't willing to admit an issue, and they focused on winning for themselves rather than winning for the country. And now they're trying to win again at all costs to get into power, not to get the country on track, but for them to maintain power. And we always have to say, well, what does this mean to us? We're assuming that a change in president is going to be a change in your life circumstances. We're assuming that these things matter when, you know what? Maybe they don't matter as much as you think. Maybe there's some things you need to be doing to be providing for yourself. I think we should touch on that a little bit, even though that might not be as interesting a conversation because it requires you to do something. Voting is easy, right? That's a one-day affair, but life change is different. So we're really going to break open some of this and show you kind of the strange frames that the United States government puts on this stuff just so that they can control you and utilize law against you. The idea of having freedom of speech is a myth. You don't even have freedom of thought. And part of the strategy of the American government, clearly in its poor public schools, is to keep you deaf, dumb, and blind. And as a result, you're not able to think through things critically. It's quite astounding in a country as developed as this. The population in mass is sleeping at a level that you can't figure out that your tax dollars are going to nothing. You look at the airports, they're in disrepair. The roads have potholes. The public schools are underperforming. The water is not clean in certain sections of America, in the South, in Louisiana, Mississippi, New Orleans, and parts of Texas. They can't figure out how to stop the place from flooding when you have seasonal hurricanes that occur every freaking season. So it's just, in Louisiana has always been a poor state. So is Mississippi. But it's just astounding that these problems remain, as though America is not the bastion of capitalism and innovation. It's amazing how many times we come out with a new iPhone, but we can't come out with a new levy to protect the residents of New Orleans and other places that experience similar climates. What can you do?
Well, communities have broken down, churches have broken down, neighbors don't know neighbors. You also used to have large families. You used to have your clan, your family clan, those people who stick together because they are linked by blood. And people say, oh, no, don't mess with the Burtons. You know, the Burtons, man, it's like 50 of them. You mess with them, it's going to be a problem. And they'll all show up. Well, now we have small families. People are having 1.8 kids, right? We have miniature families now. So your family clan doesn't exist, and you guys don't get along anyways. You don't even live near each other because the government, with our terrible government policies, have put you under such financial strain that you got to move to Timbuktu just to earn a living. Come on now. Yes, it's sick and disgusting. And I often remind you guys that no matter how civilized a society claims to be, you must know that the truth is culture is the true determinant. It's not the laws that are on the books. It's the culture of the society. And right now we are in a culture that is in tremendous disrepair. The reason I say that is because we have laws against, for example, loitering. What is loitering? Standing around. So a law like this can easily be misapplied. We have laws against unlawful assembly. What does that mean? Assembly, coming together. So human beings in the society are not allowed to come together without the permission of the government. This can clearly easily be misapplied. There's an infinite number of these types of laws that are too general that can be misapplied. We even have statutes like RICO, for example, that basically allows the government to take you down without any real evidence, without you actually doing something. That's the era that we're in. And I just noticed, and I've been in a lot of businesses, and the reason I encourage you all to really become entrepreneurs, if you have it in you, you can only really begin to understand our society and the world as a business person. I remember I was creating a technology called Why Not. It allowed you to share your Wi-Fi with a neighbor, and you get to charge them a fee, thereby effectively lowering the cost of internet and allowing a new market to access affordable internet, low-income families who live in apartments. I created this technology. Honestly, it was a phenomenal thing. Really, the government should have subsidized me or bought it out. But there was a foreign government that bought it out, even though America has the highest internet costs in the world, even though we don't have the fastest internet. Go figure. So the point is, I did a lot of study on internet cost and internet speed. I found that America, because we have old infrastructure, we don't have fast internet, and the cost is high because of inflation and various government corruption or bad government policies. So why do I bring that up? Because there was a program, there's been a number of programs that have come forward for the people, for the poor in America. And I grew up poor, and I feel sorry not for poor adults, but for poor children, honestly. I feel sorry for poor children who have to go to school, and then they get homework that requires internet access, and they don't have internet in their home. I'm not saying internet is a right. I'm saying it's a necessity for children who need to operate within the modern educational system. Now, there used to be a program. There used to be something called Internet for All. Then there was recently a program, one that was being utilized in Las Vegas. I just got an email notifying that the program no longer has funding from the government. And I thought, gee, that's comical. You cannot fund the kids to have internet in their home, but you can fund Israel to engage a war of aggression. How can you afford to send weaponry and money to Ukraine when you cannot afford to educate and keep alive your own citizens? Like, to me, that's unacceptable. And I say that we're in revolutionary times, and at some point, revolutionary action will have to be taken, whether it's on a mass level or on an individual level. And that's why I say, cast those demons out. And don't get distracted by them. Don't engage with them. Don't say nothing to them. Just think of it like this, metaphorically. It's like you're driving through the ghetto. Your destination is not the ghetto. It actually turns out that you're on your way to the Philharmonic in Los Angeles. But you got to drive through the ghetto to get there. And on your way, you see some filthy, dusty, dirty demons. Now, are you going to stop in the roads and pull over and have a conversation? Hell nah. You gonna pull over in the Maybach and have a conversation with these lowlifes? Absolutely not. Your ass is gonna hit the button and roll up your curtains on these fools. You gonna hit the button and roll up them automatic shades with these dirt bags. Don't engage them. Don't say nothing to them. Leave them in oblivion. Now you might say, Mark, what? You're a madman. How could you say such a thing? Don't acknowledge them. Leave them starved of energy. You dig? That's a complete waste of time. I ordered a dish from this country. It's actually, looks good. Check this out. It looks real good. Looks way better than I expected. It's probably delicious. And this food is always super fresh. Man, and you guys know I love fresh juices. I try not to have too much juice, but this food is very, very fresh. I appreciate this because, they don't use ultra high technology to provide you low quality foods, GMO, mass produced. This is all stuff fresh from real farmers. This is a beautiful thing. We eating food in the Holy Land. And shout out to those of you who appreciate these jewels and gems of knowledge, which really you can't get anywhere else, in as much as the ones who are on YouTube, they don't have the experience and knowledge to tell you. The ones who know it are using it, and they don't have the time to be on YouTube because they're busy making money. Yeah, they're obsessed capitalists. My thing is, I'm here as a teacher, as a spiritual guide, because I realize that, one, I've lived longer than I expected. I didn't expect to be alive. Number two, I've achieved far more than I expected or anticipated or anyone else thought. And now I have the opportunity to be a light to others. That's the thing that makes me happiest. And as you would have heard if you've been to my conferences in person, I always tell you, I'm not here to become a millionaire. I don't want to make millions. I want to make millionaires. That's more interesting at this stage. I'm about making the rich richer. People say, oh, the poor get poorer, the rich get richer. They said it's a negative thing. No, I think that's fine. I'm here to make the rich richer. If you're rich in spirit, you're rich in ambition, you're rich in goodness, I want to make you richer. I watch human beings, and I understand the guy that's blowing the leaves is going to forever be blowing them damn leaves because he ain't thinking of no damn ideas. You know what I mean? He's not trying to figure nothing out. I've never been in one situation and not been trying to figure out what the next situation is. Come on, man.
And you have to make adjustments in life. This is what the wise do. And we also are able to acknowledge and realize the limitations of others. Those men who are great men, and there's a difference between bad men, good men, and great men. There's levels to this. I'm going to write out a chart for you all. In real life, I will. But there's this female who says, hey, you got to be monogamous with me. Now, I'm your only woman. Okay, for sure. Then you ask her to do something for you. She can't do whatever you ask, whether it's sexual, whether it's a task or what have you. Like, oh, you want to be my only woman, but you're not even competent to do what I want, or you don't have the interest in satisfying me physically, whatever the case was. So it's laughable. So you're dealing with someone who is unrealistic, someone who is not a loving person, more narcissistic, and a person who does not think in systems, not realizing that, well, if you're going to be the only woman, you have to do everything, right? Now, if say you were one of two wives and one wife doesn't want to cook, the other wife can cook, perhaps, but she doesn't understand systems. So there's always going to be a problem. And you know what? Some people, they live in chaos.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah, I'm not making up things. I'm talking from the experience of a man who's traveled around the world. And when I go to a country, I get all up in it. You heard me? So
some wicked people, yes, they live in chaos and they enjoy argument and negativity. If you're a very even man, you're the kind of person who doesn't argue. Like me, I don't argue. I don't argue at all. I don't argue and I don't chase them. I just replace them. That's it. Or I marginalize them. So the young lady who said, oh, slow down, you're walking too fast. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I even slowed down for her. But see, here's the thing. That was the last walk she ever took with me in her whole life. You dig? She ain't never walked with me again in her whole life. And that was why. So I'm not going to argue with her. If I think there's a case where I can learn something, I'm always open to learn. So I did, in fact, ask her because I wanted to understand before I had her hit the road. I said, hey, what makes you think that I should walk at your pace as opposed to you walking at my pace? She says, because my legs are shorter. And I said, well, my legs are longer. She says, well, I'm accustomed to Muslim men being accommodating to a Muslim woman. Oh, I said, oh, I'm accustomed to Muslim women being accommodating to a Muslim man. So explain to me. I'm waiting for you to tell me something that has meaning that I can't say right back to you. She said, well, I just want you to walk slower. I said, okay, fantastic. You're done. You're done. I don't even have to say you're done. I just say that in my head, and then boom, there's no more communication. She keeps reaching out, but eventually she'll get the picture. And the sad reality is that that female's never going to change, even if she says she's going to change. You know, when you're in a strong position as a man, which I am, they always tell you they're going to change, they're going to improve, they're going to do better. They don't. They never do. No, very few people on the planet Earth can improve. Most of them, when you meet them, that's who they are. With women, they're hiding it. And once you get a little bit of time in, once you've had an argument with them, that's who they are. And it won't change. Very few people can change and adjust. Remember that. Never forget that. And in my book, The Black Box, I talk about that.
If you take anything from this conversation today, take the idea of being serious, take the idea of being manly in all that you do, having intensity, oneness and simplicity. And there'll come a time when you know that you've really accepted the ism and you're living by it. You'll know. Your behaviors will change. The way people perceive you will evolve. The way you perceive yourself will be different.
Their hierarchy is such a real thing that I could sit here and tell you guys the truth of everything and people will still be broke. You feel me? Like I can tell people the truth of everything and some people won't believe it. Some people won't be willing to do it and everything will just stay the same. The hustlers will keep hustling. The winners will keep winning. And the losers will keep losing. They'll have an explanation as to why they lost, and it won't have anything to do with them or personal responsibility. But that's kind of the funny thing about our era. We used to think that there was people holding back the information. Nah, we're in the information age. The information is everywhere. But so few people are willing to do it. And being that we have mental illness skyrocketing, people can't get in control of their mind.
Mental illness is widespread and accepted. It is so widespread that it has become normal.
Because of technology, understand this. We have a minority of psychopaths who can project their voice and make it seem like they are numerous when really they are few. Yeah, they are few. So there are few people who actually engage in LGBTQP practices, yet their voice is so big because they brainwash you with Netflix television shows, family sitcoms. They brainwash you with TikTok reels or whatever you call them, where you see all these transgender individuals.
We know that mental health issues are widespread. How do we know? You were born a male, but you claim to be a woman.
I am the conscience of the internet. You would think that the major monotheistic religions would do something to curb the decline of society. Maybe Christianity would stop it, but instead Christians fly the rainbow flag within their churches and have female pastors and speak of inclusivity at any cost. You would think the Muslims, Ramadan Kareem, to all of the Muslims. You would think the Muslims would stop it, but they're busy fighting one another and blowing each other up, while the Islamic leadership, the so-called princes and sheikhs in Saudi and United Arab Emirates, they sit in the lap of luxury in Dubai, and they allow their Muslim brothers in the Ummah to suffer in Gaza. You would think maybe the Jewish people would do something, the chosen people, yet they sit back and count the dollars from their efforts as international financiers and banksters, those who control the media and actually spread the poison as opposed to stopping it. People speak of God, but who really believes? People speak of morality, but who actually lives it out?
Government data in the 70s actually revealed that those who abuse children are disproportionately Skittle guzzlers. It's overwhelming. Well, I'm not surprised at all. They're willing to do things that are unusual, atypical, and strange. Furthermore, they're really able to operate as an insidious force because understand this. I remember when I was playing football, tackle football or basketball, my coaches would come into the locker room. Guys are undressed or half undressed. You don't think anything of it because you assume everyone is normal, mentally healthy, heterosexual male. But no, not today. And that's how they ease their way in. Yeah, you can't trust anyone nowadays. It's unfortunate.
They brainwash you with the educational system. They make you feel like they're everywhere when in reality, nah, that's not the case. It's just not real life.
You guys ever notice on Netflix, all the shows have a gay guy, and often it's a black gay guy strategically? Why? Because the black Americans listen to something called hip hop music, which has rightly been classified as hyper masculine and anti-LGBTQ. And it has been for a long time. And then all of a sudden you get a popular black gay rapper called Lil Nas X. Do you think that was organic and by chance or by design? Why is it that the gay character on the TV show is so often a black male? Strange. Well, why is it that there's always a gay character on the TV show? That's also strange considering their low population in reality. Competition really starts with the education of our youth, the quality of our public schools and character education and culture. That's where the policy actually should start. And so it shows it completely lost and deranged. I mean, if you're raising girls and boys and telling them that they can be any gender that they want, you've already lost the race. The psychotic LGBTQ mafia and the feminists, they absolutely love this topic, a topic of perversion, a topic of child murder, a topic that makes society upside down.
Most of these people don't have any intellectual pedigree. And I'm not talking about from schooling. I'm just talking about like the motherfuckers is brainless. If you truly believe that violence is a bad thing, you're a dummy, and you're the same dummy that would have let Adolf Hitler take over the world. We can't engage in violence. Well, that nigga using violence and that shit is working. Come on, man. For example, if you read Nietzsche or you read The Inversion of Morality or Beyond Good and Evil, then you'll understand that a slave creates a morality to justify their existence, which is to say, even when you had the master and the slave, and the black Americans, what we call them today, were the slave, they created a morality to justify their existence as being okay. Right. So they would say things like, oh, when we get to heaven, we gonna live like kings, or we was kings. And so they create a morality of falsehood to justify their current state. Because people are scared, they will say, well, violence is bad. Well, you're scared. That's why you don't want to engage violence. You call the police because you've been trained to do that. But the police come and they're effective because what? Because they have
violence on their side.
Power, violence, right? But you would rather call some other man. And the reason the government removes that from you, because violence is a form of power and governments monopolize power. So this is true stupidity from cowards who are not men. They have not the foggiest idea of being a free man consists of.
That is what the government is supposed to be for, to serve the American people. But when's the last time you felt like you were served by your government as opposed to dominated? You encounter the police. It's not a pleasant experience. You don't feel as though they're serving you. Rather, you feel as though they're trying to control you, monitor you, investigate you as a citizen. You go through our airports and they search you up as though you're coming through the southern border, which is ironic because if you did come through the southern border, they wouldn't search you. Have no fingerprints, no medical history, no criminal background on you, but they let you on in. Yes, the American government has not been serving and acting in the appropriate capacity of a government for some time, which is to build infrastructure. They don't do that. They're supposed to keep us safe, but they engage in endless wars abroad, whether it's a proxy war, whether it's a protracted war. They never win. They exhaust our coffers, which are filled by the taxpayers being robbed, and they give you almost nothing back for your efforts. Your effort to be obedient, sheep-like, your effort to pay your taxes at all costs because you've been indoctrinated with a false idea that everything is negotiable except death and taxes, which is nonsense. It's all a choice. And as a free man, as a strong man, you should be strong enough and free enough to do what is right for you and your family. And I tell you that in this day, if you support the American government, you support one of the most evil institutions that has ever haunted the planet Earth. In a proper democracy, which doesn't exist and probably cannot exist in this age, but in a proper democracy, the average person has a good enough education, and we use what's called the wisdom of crowds, which is to say you might have a couple low IQ folks or dimwits or people who are emotionally unwell, and they might make poor decisions, but the wisdom of the crowd will overcome, which is to say that the sum of our intelligence is pretty good. And the sum of our intelligence will make good decisions, or it will marginalize those bad apples. But in a situation whereby you do not have a mass of people that are reasonably educated and intellectually competent, you're going to have everyone is going to be at greater risk because
you're going to have, disproportionate influence by lobbies. And one thing I want you guys to know is like, no one wants to believe it. I've been saying we're in revolutionary times, but no one wants to believe it. And listen, this is what you guys have to realize. When World War II was about to happen, not everyone was aware that it was about to happen. And then once it started, it was too late. You can't reverse it. You see what I'm saying? So the key is to be prepared. Be prepared. Like, come on, man. Like, if everyone knew we were on the brink of World War III, we would stop, right? Like, we would all stop and say, no. Technology's too advanced. World War III will be devastating. Stop. But the problem is the war hawks, the people who are warmongers in the West, they think they'll be able to bully Russia infinitely and Russia will just fold. Maybe they could be right. But if Russia doesn't fold and eventually their means of waging conventional war are exhausted and their coffers are exhausted and all they have left is that button, and Brody hit that button, once he hit it, then it's too late at that point. And so the world has come to the brink of nuclear warfare many times. And the Americans have been quite effective in getting to the brink of it without suffering it. And the one time we did engage in nuclear warfare, it was America that used it. But at that time, we had superiority in terms of, those weapons and the willingness to use it. We were on our side. We were really the only ones who had that kind of weaponry and were willing to use it. Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case now. So, who knows what the future holds, but in either case, what we have to know is if something starts to go left, you want to be around people that you know well, people who will protect you, because the worst thing is to have to wait for 9/11. You dial 911 and see if the police show up. You're already seeing in places like California, 911 is not working. You hear me? The government is failing you in basic services. You're seeing in Chicago, they've had Venezuelan gangs take over entire apartment buildings. Gangs. What are gangs? Organized units. And that's what I'm encouraging you guys to be, an organized unit. That's what the American government is, an organized unit. But the only problem is that the American government, they used to give you protection. They make you pay protection money, taxes, and then they give you protection. Now they're making you pay protection money. You ain't even getting protection. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? What kind of mafia is this? Bring back the Italians. At least they give you protection when you pay protection money. So you got to be able to protect yourself. You might see the Democrats claiming that the economy is strong when everyone who's went to a grocery store in the last 4 years know that things have been more expensive. I remember filling up the Rolls Royce when Trump was in office and it was less than $100. And then with Biden in office, it went up to $149. I don't need any level of complexity to know that something's off. But they will still lie to you and redefine. In fact, they've redefined the definition of recession, which is supposed to be 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. And we've seen that. It's starting to become a normal state. The United States economy has been in recession for some time, and it's the fact that they keep redefining things. And you cannot trust the liberals because they're so extraordinarily dishonest. They don't know what a male or a female is. They don't know what a boy or a girl is, a man or a woman. So surely it's even easier to redefine something that is more abstract, such as a recession. And we've been in recession. So this is really sad to see. Because I tell you every day that governments are all about opening up markets, which is to say opening up different lands, foreign lands, so that they can put goods into those markets, products, sometimes services, so that they can enrich the plutocrats that run America. And to ensure that they can open up markets, you have to ensure that goods can travel, products can be shipped. Around Somalia, the Horn of Africa, is where you have a lot of products being shipped. You also have Somali pirates. The Somalis are famous for their foreheads, which are fucking enormous, and their pirates who are raggedy as hell. Because if they don't fear you, you will suffer, especially America, because the American government operates as a bully. See Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein in Libya and Iraq, respectively, as examples. So the point is,
They used to have open slave markets, dummy. Now there's really only one place you can go and find open slave markets easily, which is Libya. That was a result of the efforts of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and their terrible, evil decision to murder a head of state, which was not their right to do, which is Muammar Gaddafi. And not only did they murder him and open it up for a freaking slave market of black sub-Saharan Africans, they also destroyed the infrastructure there, which was critically important in a nation that had more gold reserves. When you look at gold to people, they had more gold reserves in the United Kingdom. They were giving out interest-free loans. It was truly a revolutionary state, also a rogue state, which is why that happened, because the European powers are still deeply colonial and deeply vicious.
Because Gaddafi was giving interest-free loans to sub-Saharan African countries, because he wanted to have a gold dinar, because he was, had sweet crude oil, because he spread ideology, various reasons. And the CIA, they go around the world trying to control everything so that it's favorable to American business interests, multinational corporations. If we were to name the number of wars that America started, it would be perhaps too many to remember. If we wanted to name the number of wars that Russia started, it would be a very insignificant amount. Even if you want to name the wars that China started, insignificant. I can't name any. So the point is that it's clear who the aggressive force is on the planet Earth, who the violent force is. And when you can start spreading that easily fact-checkable information, then I think you can start to turn the tide.
Speaking of violent culture, the most violent people on Earth are the whites. All of the data is there. If you look at something called World War, well, they've all been European affairs. If you look at genocide, well, those are largely European affairs. You look at colonialism, mass murder, in other words, those are all European affairs. By far the most violent people ever to be on Earth. So it is quite comical to me when you speak of crimes, you speak of petty crimes. When I'm speaking of crimes committed by the Europeans, the whites, we're speaking of crimes against humanity, things that are extraordinary in scope. The eradication of the Native American, it's extraordinary. The mass colonization of the Africans. And you look at the Belgian Congo, where they used to cut off the limbs of children, like actual toddlers. This is monstrous. You'll never find black people doing this kind of thing in a mass organized fashion. You won't even find Chinese people doing this in a mass organized fashion. You look at Australia, which was an entire continent that's depopulated by the vicious, cruelest group of people ever to exist. Now, would that make me a racist to say that? No, we're just recounting the facts. But the reason that I point that out is not to paint whites or Europeans in a negative light, but rather to bless you with the truth. It's because us, as good people, we have kind hearts and we want to help people, but we need to be thoughtful about who we help, where we spend our dollar, who we spend our time with. That's what we need to be conscious about.
But, there's different types of leaders, whether you're looking at business or politics. There's some entrepreneurs, they're really good at founding a business. They're the idea guy. They're good at product development. And so they're able to start the business. Then there are those who are good at growing a business, right? Expanding something where there's already a model and a system. You expand the business. Then there are those that are great at managing a business. Maybe you have a developed corporation. It just needs a great manager, someone to manage what is already there to stabilize things. Those are generally three different personalities. The same thing is true in politics. Some persons are great revolutionaries. They're revolutionary thinkers. They're revolutionary fighters. Like perhaps a Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, rest in peace, one of the greatest leaders ever to be on the African continent. He's a phenomenal revolutionary. Then there are those who are great at actually managing, and the same can be true of Fidel Castro. Then there are those that are great at managing a nation state. I think Muammar Gaddafi was excellent at managing a nation state. He did a phenomenal job. So that's actually managing the affairs of government, which is generally a different personality than the revolutionary personality. Then there are those that are great at expanding a nation's influence and power. That means you're looking at perhaps a Joseph Stalin personality or a Vladimir Lenin personality or, many others. But these are all different
personality types generally.
Where was your freedom at when you couldn't go outside? Where was your freedom at when they told you, hey, stick this needle in your arm? Oh, yeah, you need a booster. Matter of fact, you got to boost the booster. Let's keep boosting. Boost it, boost it, boost it. Where was your freedom then, little buddy? Come on now, you don't have freedom. Yeah, my grandmother could go catch an airplane just like it was a bus, a city bus. Go buy the ticket, hop right on. No search down like an animal or criminal. Now we got to get searched like animals. I try to book flights, like 6 hours in advance, and the airlines won't even book them anymore. Why? Too many regulations. And when is TSA going to figure out that a bottle of water is not deadly? When is TSA going to figure out that Chanel cologne is not going to body anybody? It's not poison. It's not dangerous. When are they going to figure that out? Huh? Been 10 years. They ain't figured it out. Yeah, buddy, you're not fighting for freedom, man. Stop it. You've been brainwashed, goofball.
I mean, I've never been in TSA and looked around and said, wow, these are really serious people. They're serious about my security. Every time I look at TSA, I'm like, these are fat imbeciles who probably only have a high school degree, and their biggest concern is stealing my lotion and my bottled water. Their biggest concern is not my safety. Their biggest concern is stealing my lotion and my bottled water. I'm convinced that these folks work for like a water corporation or a cosmetic corporation, and they're just trying to get us to drive up purchases by having to rebuy perfectly good cosmetics and water that we have to throw away for no reason, because apparently our government is not sophisticated enough to figure out if a bottle of goddamn water is dangerous. Our government is not sophisticated enough to figure out if eye drops are going to kill people.
TSA is mostly a waste. And also, you ever notice that when you're going through the security check, there's like 80 TSA employees, but maybe 18 of them are engaged in work while the others are texting or having, jolly conversation? You ever notice that? Yes, I'm pointing out to you that much of the world that you live in is an utter joke. If you haven't got the Book of Dark Truths, I highly recommend it, for you might understand the world that you live in better. It'll give you more peace of mind. Yes, and maybe you'll get a couple laughs too as you look at people exercising strategies that add up to nothing.
Come on now, it's strange. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Oh, man, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it, telling the truth.
That is one bit of my good fortune, is that my audience is intellectual.
We talking about the stuff the others can't talk about. They don't have the brains and experience for it.
I don't tell you because it's entertaining. I tell you the truth of how to live a happy, peaceful, prosperous life. When I tell you guys, do not engage in intoxicants, drugs, alcohol, that is because it will destroy you. It will not only destroy you directly by adversely affecting your health, it will put you in horrible situations that you do not want to be in. I remember in Baltimore when I was moving through a couple places, the OG told me, if you're not selling drugs or using drugs, you won't have any problems here. I repeat, if you're not selling drugs or using drugs, you won't have any problems here. That's an aphorism. If you're smart, it's an aphorism to you, which is to say that, if you're not selling prostitutes or using prostitutes, you won't have a problem here. If you're not selling drugs or using drugs, you won't have a problem here. If you're not engaging in crime, you won't have a problem here. If you're not engaging in vice or immorality, you won't have a problem here. And the sad thing is, you can have the best lawyer in the world, because we all know Bill Cosby got tremendous amounts of money. He had the best lawyer in the world, still went to jail for charges that had no evidence, and the charges are older than me. Those women claim those things happened before I was even born, before you guys were born.
Shout out to the fact that your ass ain't got to do nothing on time. Wait till the evidence is gone, because our legal system is so corrupt. You can convict niggas with no evidence. Shout out to Bill Cosby. Free Bill Cosby. Free Kodak. Free Lil Boosie. Free all my niggas. But anyways.
So you don't ever want to be in a situation like that. Now, check this out. In other situations that are not related to domestic violence, RAPESA, or things like that, you have to rely on evidence. Like, for example, the police tried to slap me with a crazy case. I gave a blood draw. You heard me? Yeah, I gave a blood draw. When they check my blood, they're gonna find out this man has no alcohol, no drugs in his blood at all ever. I'm off. Easy work. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping clean, because you're going to need to be clean. I promise you, man, we're in a wicked society with a wicked government. You're going to need to be clean out here. Keep your nose clean, man.
Again, when we talk about the American standard, in most countries, you can't drink water out of the tap, even in developed countries. That used to be an American standard. Now in America, you can't drink water out of the tap. It's quite disappointing. And that's precisely why increasingly you have to build for yourself. The governments are less and less reliable.
And you too stupid to question it. You too stupid to question it. Going along with this nonsense. Now, most of you watching, some of you might be lazy and you might be inconsistent. So don't take this advice because you ain't even figured out how to work hard yet. But once you figured out how to work hard, what you want to do is work hard on different activities and figure out which of these pursuits is going to make money for you. And then you go hyper focused, Super Saiyan mode on that one thing that is easy for you to make money at. Easy for you to make money. For example, if there was a public speaking contest and they're giving out $20,000 for the best public speaker, I say, oh, that's easy for me. I could walk up and, pretty much do that with minimal preparation. So what I'm telling you to do is to do what is easy for you, that you are skilled and competent at, that takes low levels of energy. And also, if you have multiple income streams, which I do, I hope you do, it's a beautiful thing. But every now and then I'll shut off one income stream. If it's not streaming fast enough, it's not streaming vigorously enough, I'll shut it off and focus my energy, effort, capital, and attention to my other streams. You see, it's much better to have one strong income stream or two strong income streams than five that are all right. Because what happens when you split your attention between different businesses and pursuits, you forget that it takes a lot to be in different industries. What I mean is, say, like, for example, when I was in tech, I had an intellectual property attorney, right? He can deal with, certain complex algorithms that we need to patent and all this stuff. But if I want to say, hey, I also have a fashion business, can you help me with that? No, he can't. So it would be much better for me and that relationship if I had like 3 different tech businesses, I could use the same lawyer. But if I have businesses in different industries, I might need different types of lawyers for different things. Like, for example, I was in another business that required significant levels of compliance. And so I needed a different kind of team to deal with that. So you often want to ask yourself, how can I be in one industry, maybe in different like slithers of the industry, to where, if one business tanks, they're not all going to tank at the same time. But you have to think strategically about how to do this stuff. Come on now.
So you guys are often wanting to get into entrepreneurship, and I fully support that. In fact, I promote it. It's not for everyone, but for those of you who can actually get it done, you absolutely should. It is life-changing. Not only in terms of wealth, but also in terms of something much greater than wealth. Freedom. Yes, if you don't have time, you are not wealthy. I once was a person who owned a company and still didn't have time. I had lots of money. I didn't even have time to spend the money. And I even have friends to this day who run large international corporations with tons of employees, and they don't have time or freedom. So that is not what you're looking for. You must design a life. And that's why I give you this guidance, because you can do things the hard way or the easy way. And your goal is to find a way to have an unfair advantage, or to find something that is easy for you and perhaps hard for others. One thing I want to give you guidance on when you're asking yourself, well, what product can I bring to market? Or even what service can I bring to market? Now, when you're trying to earn $1, there may be ways that are more accessible, easier for you to start with, and then you'll graduate to products that are perhaps more complex or more profitable. When you first start, what I like to do is I like to look at my everyday experience and ask, where is there a breakdown in the quality of the experience where I'm disappointed, or I get angry at something, or I wish something existed, or I can make some minor modifications in something that's going to improve the experience for the consumer, or let the consumer save money or earn money or get a feeling that they're searching for. So for example, we mentioned real estate because real estate is something I haven't talked a ton about publicly. For those of you who are wise, you'll get the guide to investing in commercial real estate, which you can get at thesassin.com, THESASN.com. Mark Pfeiffer, my good friend, real estate mogul, very successful in that business, also e-commerce. you can get that lesson and go through and learn about investing in real estate. And if you have a particular deal or want to look at deals, you can book a very low cost consultation with Mark. I think it's $350, which I think is shamefully cheap. If I were you, I'd probably be booking one a week, honestly, and exploit him because he's willing to be exploited. My consultation is much more expensive, and I'm going to increase it by $300 on the first of the month. So do make sure that if you're smart and thrifty, which I'm certainly a thrifty person, you would book before the first. You can do so at thesasson.com. That's THESASN.com. But yeah, if you guys are listening right now, you're like, what was I supposed to learn from this, Marquette? Like, what was the one thing I need to take home? This is what you need to take home, okay? What you need to take home is this. If you have $1,000 and you can invest that $1,000 in making yourself more valuable, that's a great way to invest $1,000. If you can invest $1,000 in a product-based business, not all at once, bit by bit, that might be a smart thing to do. Holding on to the money, obsessing over the money, being miserly or parsimonious is not wise because it's all fake at the end of the day anyways. It's all fake. So what I'm saying is that the only certain value you get out of money, like, so say if I have like $100,000 in my hand right now, right? Which, yeah, I would need two hands. It's 50,000, it's 50,000. So I got 50,000 here and 50,000 here, right? So if I got $100,000 in my hand right now, it really has added no value and no joy to my life. I might be dumb enough to be like, look, I got 50,000 here, 50,000 here. It's not added any value. But the moment I convert that money into something that I can utilize, whether it's a house, an automobile, a course I might take to better myself, or going on a bunch of dates, or even paying for 800 prostitutes, whatever the case might be, then I've converted into something that's actually valuable. But if I get stuck holding these 50,000 pieces of green paper, and this 50,000 pieces of green paper, I lost, right? I'm dumb. So what you need to understand is the persons who are actually utilizing capital in the economy, utilizing it, making it active, they're the winners. The people who are hoarding money or trying to gain money, they're not actually understanding the great value that we have at our disposal. This is what I mean. I feel like, I just like to be visual. I feel like this little bit of money right here, right? So if I take this money right here, right? And I use this money to get someone to do something for me, they might feel great, right? If I was like, hey, here, take this money, do blah, 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 whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, they're going to feel good. Because they got a piece of paper, right? They're like, oh, I got some money. They feel great. I feel like, you're stupid. I tricked you and I beat you and I won. Because this is actually just a piece of paper that means nothing. But what you did for me means something. The labor I extracted from you, the service I extracted from you means something in the world. Whereas if I leave you holding this, you're holding something that has no value. So the more you can convert this into something, then you win. But the problem is that you get a whole bunch of these, or you get obsessed with pursuing these, and you waste your life. You live your life in fear trying to get this, which is valueless. So what I'm trying to teach you is understanding. If you get this and this, don't obsess over holding on to it, because if you try to hold on to it, you're going to lose. Put this to work so you could turn it into this. And then when you turn it into this, put this to work so you could turn it into a house or a campus or a private army or something to protect you or help you or make you happier. Because I promise you, having a bunch of pieces of paper with pictures on it is not going to make you happier. So that's why anytime I'm able to use this to control someone, I'm like, dang, this person's stupid. Listen, I can enslave you guys with this. I can enslave you with this. Like, I'm a slave master out here. That's what I'm trying to teach you.
I'm your slave master with this. That's the beauty of it. But see, here's the thing. I don't actually want this. I want to control you, and I want your labor. I want you to come work for me. I want you to do what I asked you to do. When you can figure that out, then you'll be in a strong position. Yeah. You'll be in a really strong position when you can figure that out. Like, for example, I'm hungry, right? I'm about to have someone go, like someone who works for these, go fetch my food and bring it straight to my door. And then I'm going to hand them something like this. And in my head, I'm going to laugh like, you're stupid. Thanks. Thank you, dummy. Appreciate it, man. I just sit on my ass while you do all the labor. And you're going to keep on chasing and chasing and chasing this. Failing to understand it. You're playing in the game with no game plan. If you're chasing this, you're playing in the game without a game plan. But you're like a badass athlete. You know, you're like a shitty athlete that won't listen to the coach. You feel me? Like the coach is trying to tell you something, but you won't listen. You heard me? It's like, if I take out the time to make a course, I don't care if I'm sitting in my motherfucking drawers. Hell, I don't care if I'm butt ass naked teaching the course. Take the course, take the knowledge. Who cares that I'm butt ass naked in the course? Take the knowledge and then go do what I've done. Right? Like, keep your eyes on the actual prize. I know you've already lost when you're talking about earning money. You haven't even in your mind converted it to what you want, right? Like when I was a young person, I'd say something like, I want to make $1 million. Now I'm like, but why? But why though? You want 1 million pieces of paper? Now I think in terms of tangible things, like what can I do with that? How does that impact my quality of life? How can that protect me more, protect my family? Mind you, money is not going to protect you. You have to convert it to something that will protect you, like a firearm, a private army, security at your home, a bodyguard, things like this. So people get caught up in the rat race, which is what a capitalist like me, I want you in the rat race because I want to be your banker. I want you to borrow money from me. I want you to come work for me. I want you to be in debt. I want you to get up at 7 a.m. every day because you feel obligated. You feel me? Like I want you in debt. So you're obligated. The system, the credit system is genius because it forces you to wake up early and go to work and do a job you hate every single day. You think people hated slavery? For sure. And people hate their jobs just as much, minus the you ain't got to deal with them lashes, right? But I need you in debt so you feel obligated to participate. Like no one is going to go to a restaurant and fetch my dinner and bring it back to me without them greenbacks, right? Like they need that motivation to do that. Like if I asked them nicely, they wouldn't do it. So that's how much a capitalist appreciates this system, but it's all psychological. And let me just tell you real quick how deeply perverse the system is. Deeply perverse.
Is even people who are multimillionaires many times over, we're talking about 40 million, hundreds of millions, they still don't feel abundance. That is a choice as well. I even see people in the chat sometimes and they say, oh, when I get my bag up, I'm going to support the work. I don't believe you. I think you're a liar. And that's not an insult. That's just an observation of fact. The reason that I know you to be a liar is because there are people who send a Venmo every session and they literally send it for $1 US every time. When I read Venmos, I never say the amount. If it's a baller alert, I'll say a baller alert, which indicates $50 or more, but I never say the amount. There's most people who send it in. They might be sending it in for a lower amount. There are other people who always send high amounts. Definitely they're there. Some people, they just send $1. And so what that lets me know is the person who's saying, once I get my bag up, then I'm going to support. No, you're never going to support. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to me, but I know you're lying. You might not know you're lying to yourself. You really have to understand this. And there was a great speaker whom I used to listen to quite a bit. And he said, if you can manage your behaviors when the amounts are small, which is to say when your income is small or when your business is small, if you can manage the numbers very well,
then you will be able to manage the numbers effectively when the amounts are large, which is to say, if you only got to say your whole fortune is 50 US dollars and you're managing it effectively and you're allocating to each thing in your life that needs to be allocated to yourself, to your family, to your expenses, your bills, your business, to your charity, to orphans. You know, maybe you can only give 50 cents to an orphan. Maybe you can only give $2 to your family, but you've made an allocation. So then when you're a multimillionaire, you're still willing to give that percentage, but it'll be a much larger amount. What happens is when people say like, oh, well, when I get my money together, then I'm going to support, that lets me know you're a stingy person, which is fine. When you do get your money together, then you're going to find a new reason not to support. So understand the amount of money you have doesn't matter. It's not about, I hope you guys understand some things you might never understand until you get there. Like I remember I used to have this super gorgeous a couple, actually, gorgeous girlfriend in high school, but there was one in particular. And the homie had asked me, he was like, bro, like, how do you have that girl and you still dealing with these other girls? I tried to explain to him, but he could never understand because he was obsessed with that girl because she was so gorgeous, but he had never had a gorgeous girlfriend. You heard me? He says, like, once you get one, then you can understand that even a gorgeous woman will get boring if the only thing about her that's meaningful is her beauty. You can explain it, but he just never going to understand it till he has one, and he never got one. Anyways, carrying on. Time is precious. We're in a race. We have to move quickly. You do not want to persist in the same thing too long. If you ask me, Marquette, with what you know now, and you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self when you were 25? I'll say, Marquette, you are building a tech company. Fantastic. You put in a lot of work. I want to make a prophecy. This is going to work. This is going to make you millions of dollars. This is going to make you successful and well known. It's going to let you travel around the world. It's going to let you live in different countries. And despite that, I want you to quit right now immediately. I want you to quit right now immediately. And the reason I want you to quit right now immediately, because it's not worth the effort. It's too much work. There are simpler technologies that can make you money faster. And I want you to quit this today like it's a burning building. Leave it and try a different technology. That's what I would say, because it hurts too much to do what you're doing. It's too much effort. It's too heavy of a lift, and you're strong enough to lift it. But why put the muscle in? Why put the muscle when you could use a little bit of hustle and get a better outcome, huh? Yes, indeed. That's what I would say.
I talk to you because I have something to teach. Many come here to teach, but how many of them are actually teachers? My actual training, I was professionally trained as a teacher. And I've taught at the elementary level, the middle school level, the high school level, and the university level, and the graduate school level in a paid capacity. It's different. Come on now. They're here to make $1. I'm here to make a difference. Understand. And not all of you will. I speak to the leadership class. I don't speak to the dimwits. They'll never get it.
We must take the liberty of sitting at the front of the classroom. Above all, the plan is for financial freedom, true ownership. So I invite you to work with me in executing this plan so that the dream is not just a dream.
Everything's going to work out. Don't stress. Don't feel like you're struggling. And number 2, to enjoy the whole way through. You know, enjoy every moment of it. You know, you won't always have your hair. You won't always have your good looks. You won't always have your strength. You won't always have certain friends. They'll be deceased. So every moment, enjoy it in the present and live it like it's the last one.
And I just want to encourage you guys to seek greater meaning. There's so many of these clowns on the internet that are talking about, I want to be a millionaire. I'll teach you how to be a millionaire. Or I'm going to be a billionaire. It's like, getting money is fantastic. I highly recommend it, but that's not the measure of a man or of anything. So sometimes you go brain dead watching life, forgetting to live life. What I mean is that you should be asking yourself, am I watching life right now, or am I living life? And every time you should be trying to live life.
Ladies and saints, let us end this with our tradition.
The creed of the assassin. Repeat that. Oh, and just before we get into that, let me say, follow that 3-sentence Bible. That 3-sentence Bible will keep you safe and prosperous, okay? That 3-sentence Bible is not there for no reason. Be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. You follow that, you will not have any problems. It will wipe away all challenges. Be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. And if you need me to interpret that, let me know. But we tried to keep it simple for you. Now, let us end with our tradition, the
Creed of the assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The creed of the assassin.
I am going to be who I truly am.
because I am remarkable.
And I'm going to strive every moment
To show the greatest part. Show the greatest part.
to show the greatest part of who I am.
It has truly been a pleasure. It has truly been a pleasure today.
Until next time.